Thank you very much, John. I too want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Gadigal Wongal people, and I pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge any Indigenous people that are here with us this evening. I also want to acknowledge Richard Pearson as the Administrator of the Inner West Council, also all former councillors of the former Marrickville, Ashfield and Leichhardt councils with us tonight, and the democratically elected Mayor of Marrickville is with us, Mr Sam Iskander, and I want to acknowledge him. Most importantly though, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for giving up your evening to listen and to care about your community. Before I delve into the detail, I want to disclose that I live in the Dulwich Hill precinct with my husband and my son. So these plans potentially affect over half of the Summerhill electorate, and I stand with you both as a Member of Parliament and as an affected resident. Every day I'm incredibly proud to represent the Inner West community in the New South Wales Parliament. I'm proud to represent a truly diverse community that looks out for one another, a community that is a great multicultural success story where people of any age, background or economic status can call home. Our community is rich in heritage. In fact, we're very lucky to have one-of-a-kind homes, vibrant industrial and creative precincts, parks, streetscapes, and a rich Indigenous history also. These values are part of what make our suburbs special and are what makes our suburbs significant to the whole state. These plans that we're here to discuss tonight, the government's Sydenham to Bankstown renewal plans, are the antithesis of those values. They simply do not reflect what we love, what I love about our community. Our history, our diversity, our amenity and sustainability as a community are undermined by these plans that I believe go too high and reach too far into our suburbs. I think we need to be very clear here about these plans. They have not been written for us. They have been written for developers. But what the state government hasn't learned about our community is that we're a fighting community and we won't take it lying down. I want to particularly acknowledge the work of community groups that have already been out there now for some 18 months talking to all of you and your neighbours about what these plans mean, particularly the Save Gully group, the newly formed Save South Marrickville group and others. I also want to acknowledge the fantastic turnout from the recent community meeting that was organised by the Sydenham Bankstown Alliance. Marrickville and Dulwich Hill are being asked to take far too much of the share of density in these plans, and I stand with you absolutely in our fight against them. Marrickville is under attack in the new version of these plans from the government adding an extra 6,000 units, up from 4,000 in the original plans. This means 12-storey towers on both sides of the station, including Shrevel Street, Ann Street and Leofrane Avenue. It means swathes of land zoned for 8 storeys all the way up Petersham Road, right along here. Ludicrously, too, these 8-storey zonings jump Carrington Road to impact Renwick, Ruby, Carey and Premier Streets. This is particularly concerning because it shows a complete lack of understanding and disregard for the quality of those historic streets. The transition from the 8-storey buildings proposed along the western side of Carrington Road in no way would interact with single-storey dwellings behind them. Just imagine that. The government's plans also mean streets like Grove Street, Warren Road, Ivanhoe Street are rezoned under what I think is a misleading category of low-rise housing, which actually means up to 4 storeys. Marrickville will see significant uplift, far greater than anything we've seen here before. The towers planned for opposite the train station reach upward of 12 storeys. Just remember, the Revolution building is 8 storeys. Now, we must remember that Marrickville is a heritage suburb. But the heritage study that is contained within these planning documents has not extended to the areas around the Warren or up Petersham Road. And again, it shows complete disregard for what would result in the destruction of much of our urban heritage. Finally, on Marrickville, I want to reflect on what these plans would mean for a affordable housing in our suburb. The government's plans contain no targets, no inclusionary zoning, indeed no regard for the cost of housing. This is a massive, massive failure. Not only because, of course, we know the apartments that will be built will cost close to or over $1 million, but because many of the houses that are bulldozed to make way for them were affordable. The very areas that are slated for rezoning are made up of a genuine mix of accommodation, including rental properties and boarding houses. So not only will we see we'll see no additional affordable housing thanks to the government's plans, but we're actually going to see a net reduction. And I believe that will significantly change the face of Marrickville, not in a good way. I want to now turn to Dulwich Hill, a community that made 561 submissions against the original plans, and I'm incredibly disappointed that they were summarily dismissed by the government. In fact, Dulwich Hill will only see a reduction in 59 dwellings as opposed to the draft strategy of 2015. This is despite the Minister coming up with some rather slippery mathematics saying that it had been reduced by 1,400, so please disregard those reports. They were slippery, if not deceptively, downright deceptive in my view. These plans maintain significant swathes of development along Hercules Street and Terrace Road, and expands the 3-storey development along Wardell Road and Riverside Crescent, and intensifies the development at Dulwich Hill Station. I want to particularly raise the proposed rezoning of historic Dulwich Hill buildings like the Greek Church and the Maternity Hospital, which are slated for redevelopment in these plans. These are icons that we cannot lose. The Save Dulwich Group has done an excellent job in highlighting these heritage impacts, and I encourage you, if you're a Dulwich Hill resident, to make contact. I know we're going to hear more from them tonight. Finally, I want to turn to perhaps the greatest failure of these plans, and that is the lack of provision of schools, medical services, and open space. The government has planned for nothing when it comes to community infrastructure needed to support the supposed 100,000 new residents that will come to the Sydenham to Bankstown line. The government's got it completely back to front. What we should be doing is planning for and building the community infrastructure we need before even considering rezoning on this scale. Even the government's central motivation for the rezoning, the extension of the Sydney Metro through our suburbs to Bankstown, is completely back to front. If it goes ahead, the line will be built a full 8 years after construction begins on the thousands of extra apartments allowed for under these plans. That's thousands of extra people crammed into our already crammed roads, our kids crammed into our schools and childcare centres, families crammed into doctors' waiting rooms and hospitals. Now, look, I am absolutely all for investment in public transport, particularly over roads and freeways, but it seems to me that when you have train services in the northern part of my electorate that serves Western Sydney at capacity, you've got our Inner West Light Rail also at capacity in peak times, you've got our buses that we are striving to make sure remain public buses, winding through our streets that are already jammed. It seems to me you should invest in those services to make them better, and you should prioritise the parts of Sydney that are underserviced by public transport. In my view, not prioritising converting an existing rail line which is not at capacity. The government has categorically failed to explain to us why they are prioritising this investment over others, and like so many of you, I have my doubts. I particularly have my doubts when I'm being asked to accept mass rezonings of our suburbs on the promise of a new service that they have failed to justify. What's more, this government has completely failed to justify these rezonings. In the recent budget, the government funded no additional classrooms for Marrickville and Dulwich Hill, and that's despite the fact that 75% of our primary schools across the electorate which I represent are at or close to capacity. There's been no commitment for additional funding for Canterbury Hospital, despite the projections of crushing demand on their hospital services, particularly emergency. There has been no commitment in these plans to deliver affordable housing or new social housing. Sporting groups continue to tell us that they struggle to find enough places to play and to train. We should be accommodating a robust sporting community here, but instead the government is forcing our groups into smaller and smaller spaces. It's always been the case that these plans have provided no new open space. There are a couple of civic squares and what they call linear parks, but these are to be delivered by developers as works in kind. And as anyone who lives here knows, developers are unlikely to deliver on these promises, and we know that a lot more than a few extra pocket parks are needed to meet the growing demand of our recreational needs. So have no doubt, these plans are for developers, not for the community. But I want you to know that I stand with you each and every day in demanding that we are heard and that the planning decisions are made in the interests of our community. We know that the way to make additional growth in our city is not to force plans on our community, but to work with residents to find sensible solutions for growth and density. Because when the buildings are built and the developers go away, it's going to be us that are still living here. And it's our voice that matters in these discussions. So I want to urge you tonight to make contact with your local groups, the Save Dully, the Save Marrickville South Group, the Sydenham to Bankstown Alliance. Also to work with my staff at the end of this meeting to make a submission. I have written to everyone in Marrickville and Dulwich-Hill and included a template submission. So you may be motivated to write reams and reams about the effect on you and your neighbours, but you can also take a shortcut version and just write a couple of lines and your address at the bottom here too. That's available up the back, and I would encourage every single one of you who's made the effort to come here tonight to make a submission. We need to keep up this fight. There have been some small victories in the previous plans, but it's only together that we can save our suburbs. Thank you.